see the return of the undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns ahead of his championship match at Crown Jewel. Ronda Rousey issues a open challenge for her SmackDown Women's Championship, and we see the return of Emma. Hey guys, how you all doing? The Wrestling Guy back here today, and welcome to another episode of SmackDown Breakdown, the series where we break down everything that happened on this week's SmackDown, talk about some of the matches, talk about the promos, all of the other special bits we saw on this week's episode of SmackDown, and obviously what does this all mean leading up to our next premium live event, which is Crown Jewel next Saturday. So if you guys do go on to enjoy, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Turn on that little notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we've got planned for you guys coming out on the channel. And without further ado, let's break down this week's episode of SmackDown. So, we would kick things off with a huge tag team match between the Brawling Brutes and Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn. Now, this was a really, really good match to kick things off. The Usos would be down at ringside, obviously the undisputed tag team champions. And they would be in the corner of the bloodline, obviously Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. So this was a good match. Quite a hard story behind this match. We've been seeing on SmackDown the past couple of weeks the slow dissension of the bloodline. Obviously Sami Zayn and Jey Uso not getting 100% on good terms with one another. And we saw the dissension kind of carry on in this matchup. Solo Sikoa would dominate the early part of the match, delivering huge Uranagi to Butch on the ring apron. We would see Sami Zayn and Jey Uso start arguing on the outside, which would cause a distraction, and Butch and Holland would be able to pick up a huge victory as a result. So yeah, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso were continuing to bicker. We would then see Jimmy come down to come and get involved, and then we would see the head of the table himself, Roman Reigns, make his way down to the ring. Now, just before we break into all of the things that happened with the bloodline, just want to say quickly about this match. The match itself was good. The chemistry that Ridge, Holland and Butch have got now is really good, and they've certainly developed into a high quality tag team. And there's some kind of weird chemistry between Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn as well. You can kind of see that there's kind of a chemistry blossom in there as well. So, but yeah, Butch and Holland, obviously, we now know that they have their undisputed tag title match at Crown Jewel against the Usos, so that's going to be an exciting one. We'll have to see what happens there. Yeah, like I said before, this match was very story heavy. It was very story orientated, and it's just kind of like another chapter that's been written in this storyline with the bloodline, really. So yeah, that was really good. So as we just mentioned, Roman Reigns would come down to the ring and address the bloodline. I think he's seen enough, and he wanted to make his presence felt to the bloodline and the WWE Universe. So Roman Reigns essentially got in the ring, and he said to Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, a resolution needs to be, there needs to be a resolution to these issues that are in the group at the minute. We've seen, like I said, the past couple of weeks that Jey Uso and Sami Zayn haven't been getting along. Jey Uso hasn't really been accepting Sami Zayn into the bloodline. And it's kind of showing that Sami Zayn's kind of the mould that's kind of breaking Roman Reigns and Jey Uso apart at the moment. Now, it's really interesting where the storyline's going. Roman Reigns essentially turns around and says that if Jey Uso keeps showing resistance to Sami Zayn, then he will rename the honorary Sami Uso, which I really hope they don't do. I think that's going to sound awful. I really hope that they just keep it as it is. The honorary Uso stuff is fine. You don't need to change it to that. And this was fantastic because there was some real moments in this segment that really kind of did stand out. The big one I think a lot of fans picked up on is when Jey Uso turns around and says, "I didn't give a damn what the tribal chief says." Now that is no, that was big. A lot of the fans showed quite a good reaction. Roman Reigns sold this like an absolute machine, which was really, really good. And they were playing on this whole thing that they played on a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown about Jey Uso not being very oozy at the moment, which is all part of this comedy that goes with this thing. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see where this goes. I still believe, as I've mentioned in the past couple of episodes, I still believe this is gonna end up resulting in a match between Zayn and Jey Uso. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the couple of weeks. And obviously Crown Jewel next Saturday as well, so we'll have to see if anything happens there. Our next match of the evening would be the New Day versus the Maximum Male Models. This match was fine. It didn't do anything special for me. I'm not a huge fan of the New Day, but I'm also not a huge fan of the Maximum Male Models. So this match was kind of, yeah, it was there. It kind of did what it needed to do. The New Day would end up picking up the win over the Maximum Male Models after hitting the midnight hour. And then the backstage, it would cut to the backstage where we'd see Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville. And that they would end up getting into a brawl, which would end up having to be broken up by referees and officials. So we're obviously going to end up seeing Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan again, which I don't mind. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on what happens with that storyline as well. Next, we would see the open challenge from the SmackDown Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey. So she would come down to the ring. She would come down in her typical heel fashion. I think Ronda Rousey is so much better as a heel than she was a face. I think she's doing an absolutely fantastic job. And she would issue an open challenge to any member of the women's locker room. And who should step up to the occasion than the former superstar Emma or Tennille Dashwood to impact an indie fans. She would make her return to the WWE, and she'd be going straight in for the title, for the SmackDown Women's title. First, I just want to say I really, really like Emma. I think this is a really, really good addition to the women's division. The women's division in WWE at the minute is really starting to bloom, is really starting to look really strong again. It went through a couple of stages kind of a year or so ago where the women's division was looking very flat, and now they're starting to really bring some quality talent. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do going forward with the women's division, and also for the likes of Emma and the people they're using at the minute, like Liv Morgan, Sonya Deville. What are they going to be plans for them going forward? We'll have to see. A couple of moments that were quite good with the Ronda Rousey. Like I said, she's playing her new heel persona really well. Obviously, Ronda Rousey would turn around and say to the fans, "You're all too mediocre to even know what you're looking at," which was a typical heel move there as well. Michael Cole, again in his immense fashion, noted that Emma's return came 364 days after her release from the WWE. And yeah, she put in a great performance in this match. I'm really excited to see what they've got planned for her going forward. So yeah, another big surprise on SmackDown, the return of Emma. So welcome back, Emma. The next match of the evening would be Hit Row and a mystery partner versus Legado del Fantasma. So just before we get into this one, I just want to say it was very tricky to kind of figure out where they were going to go with this one. Who were Hit Row going to pick up to be their mystery tag partner to face Hit Row? Obviously, this rivalry really starting to thicken up between the two teams at the minute, which I'm really liking. I'm a big fan of Hit Row, and I'm a big fan of Legado del Fantasma. So really, really looking forward to see what happens with this going forward. What I would say is that, again, very similar to the women's division, the tag division is really starting to kind of flourish and bloom as well. And yeah, part of me really wants them to kind of split the belts back up again so we can see a bit more kind of competition for the belts, because Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma both deserve championship matches. So we'll have to see what happens with that going forward. But like I said, their mystery partner would end up being none other than the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura, who drew an absolutely huge ovation from the crowd for this one. The match would go back and forth. We'd see the majority of the match being taken up by Hit Row, and they would end up picking up the victory. So Hit Row and Shinsuke Nakamura would pick up the victory over Legado del Fantasma. Again, the little touches that the commentators are picking up on. Michael Cole picking up on the fact that B-Fab was not wearing heels because, oh, was she going to get into a tangle with Zelina Vega? It's just. I'm loving the commentary at the moment. Wade Barrett and Michael Cole on commentary together, absolutely fantastic. They're doing a fantastic job. And backstage, we would see Shayna Baszler come out and congratulate Ronda Rousey on her win. We would then see Natalya come up and confront Ronda Rousey and say that if it was her that answered that open challenge, she would be the champion now, which we would then see Shayna Baszler choke out Natalya. If this is the beginning of seeing Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey either in a rivalry or just a kind of a brief tag team or group, form of a group, I'm all over this. I think that this could be absolutely fantastic. I'm super excited to see where this kind of goes going forward. Our next match of the evening, Karrion Kross versus Madcap Moss. So we now know that it's going to be Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre, 2 inside a steel cage at Crown Jewel. Now, Cole and Wade Barrett did an absolutely fantastic job of putting over the fact that the influence Scarlett has had on this rivalry with Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre, and obviously this match is it was very much a kind of a message that Karrion Kross was trying to send to Drew McIntyre. At the end, when we saw Karrion Kross put Madcap Moss in the cross jacket to get the victory, we would see him get the microphone and talk about the fate of Drew McIntyre and how it was just going to be a repeat and that his time was coming up TikTok. This is going to be great. I'm excited to see what this means for Crown Jewel. We will break that down when we talk about our predictions in the next video. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. Up next, we would see Bray Wyatt address his demons. Now, this stuff has got to be one of my favourite bits of SmackDown at the minute. Really like the way that they always throw this bit in to kind of end the show as well, the stuff they do with Bray Wyatt. And this stuff that they're doing at the minute is just absolutely insane. So Bray Wyatt would come down to the ring to close out the show. He was almost following on from what he was doing a couple of episodes ago, where he was kind of opening up to the fans, being honest, but also admitting that he was willing to do terrible things. And then that masked individual would come back again. And we would now know that this guy is Uncle Howdy, who's been mentioned a couple of times. He called Bray Wyatt a liar, claiming that he wears a mask despite his claims to not wear a mask. Just a couple of quotes that I've taken from this promo that I thought really kind of were interesting. Bray Wyatt says, "There's no mask that I'm hiding behind. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's just me and you. That's what I want you to get used to. This is just me, Bray Wyatt, the real man." Where I think this is kind of going, I think that this is kind of playing on the fact that Bray Wyatt is vulnerable. He's himself, and there's this darker, sort of more vindictive side that is trying to take over and take hold of it, which is what this Uncle Howdy is all about, almost like his demons. My emotions don't work like most other people's. I don't always have control. Sometimes they can send me to a very dark place. Other times I just don't feel anything at all. And the masked man, like I said, would say, "You're a liar. You say you don't wear a mask, but we both know that isn't true. You'll never be able to hide from me. You're Uncle Howdy." Like, creative in WWE at the minute is just on another level. There's not really a lot I can say to fault the creative team in WWE. They are doing an absolutely splendid job. There's nothing that you can say that they're doing wrong at the minute, and this Bray Wyatt stuff is absolutely spectacular. I'm excited to see kind of where this goes in the coming weeks as well. Like, what are we going to see going forward? What's going to happen? So we'll have to keep an eye out. So that's this week's episode of SmackDown Broken Down for you guys. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this week's episode of SmackDown. The chairman of the board will be back in a couple of days for his Raw reaction for the last Raw before Crown Jewel, and we will also be shooting our predictions, our Crown Jewel predictions as well. So make sure you've got that notification bell turned on. Hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next one.